Hello and welcome back to my channel, and today we're taking a look at Pine Harbor demo. Now this game's demo has been around YouTube for, I would want to say, a good month and a half. Exclusive gameplays and so on and so forth, including 4070 Ti. However, I am yet to see someone playing this in 4K Ultra on 4070 Ti. I mean, probably I missed all of the videos that are doing exactly that, but I decided to take this game for a spin. Now this is actually an interesting title when it comes to it. So let's go over the settings we're going to be playing on, then we're going to talk a little bit about the game, and then I'm going to be really bad at it, so you can have a laugh. Now, obviously we're going with a 4K native, no vertical sync, FOV is cranked, no locked FPS. We're going with an epic settings and we have Lumen enabled. So Lumen is the, I wouldn't want to say the new big thing, but this game is actually made in Unreal Engine 5. At least one of his iterations, 0.1, 0.2 or 0.3. And Lumen is the global illumination technology that actually is, if not similar, then does pretty much the same thing as an RTX. So it handles all the light scattering, all the light diffusion against different materials, surfaces, and actually kind of calculates from the light source onto the nearby objects. Supposedly, Lumen is 50% faster in terms of rendering and calculation time when it comes to RTX. However, if you remember Matrix demo that actually dropped on a PC, you could download it and play when it previously dropped on PS5. Unreal Engine 5 is pretty taxing. It actually runs starting from DirectX 12 API, and it is chugging a little bit of resources. Now, is it a good thing? I would say yes, because overall Unreal Engine does offer a bit more flexibility for the devs to actually implement and upgrade the engine and add new features, rather than reworking the same engine and trying to kind of keep it up to date while adding new features. So it kind of makes sense, but obviously this is a little bit of, you gain a lot and you lose probably the same amount. So when it comes to Lumen, it definitely will make the game look fantastic. And so far only a couple titles are actually using any sort of new technology like Lumen or meshing. So for instance Alan Wake 2, right? So that game looks insanely beautiful, but you need exactly insane hardware spec to actually run it all ultra and so on. Now obviously 4K is not exactly where you want to be with most part, to be fair. This is a horror shooter looter survival game, heavily story driven. You need to loot stuff and craft stuff, so some people dubbed it as the new Silent Hill. But, well, since I never played any of these titles because I scare quite easily, well, you know, I cannot compare them, so we're just gonna go with what it is. And before we start, the minimum GPU requirements for this demo is 1050 Ti, and recommended GPU is an RTX 3060. Now this demo is a work in progress. It is more of a technical preview rather than a finished, polished demo, and you know, the game launch is gonna launch sometime 2024. And honestly, I would still emphasize on do not try to play this game in 4K unless you have 4080, 4090 or equivalent of AMD for this particular title. So let's start by reloading the guns. I'm gonna die anyway, so no, it doesn't matter. Now, let's have a look at the game itself. So as you can see, we're pulling 7.5 gigs of video memory allocated and 7.8 of RAM, and we are below 60 frames. And the reason for this is quite simple. Everything you see here with this light, that's Lumen. Like, currently the game does not support DLSS or FSR, so we're kind of stuck with native. For what it's worth, there's no option to change render resolution. The best we can do is drop graphical quality from epic to high and to medium, but so far I wouldn't say I've noticed a lot of FPS increase if it comes to it. But when it comes to the Lumen, and I think it's easier to show and tell rather than just to tell, is if we go in the next room here. So technically we need to open a door here, as far as I understand, and I played this level a couple times, death at every corner. And we're starting at C2, and then we need to get to roughly B1 and somewhere along the way we need to find the stuff to survive. Anyhow, let's talk about the performance. So look at this. We have 55 frames in this current viewpoint, right? So if I go to settings and we disable the lumen, instant FPS boost. At the same time, as you notice, the game kind of goes very dull. Now, you might argue that we do have certain reflections even now. You see the door is reflecting into the puddle, and you know the light kind of still scatters, but overall, and I'm gonna keep the flashlight here so you can see the door and the puddle. If we re-enable the lumen back in, the shading of this reflection and the light scattering from the door changes. Like, you can noticeably see the change. Unfortunately, that means we are sub 60. Second thing, why I do not recommend playing this game in 4K with 4070 Ti in epic settings is very simple. Everything light related, let me just turn off my flashlight. Everything light related will cause a little bit of a frame drop, and this actually goes for guns as well. If you have a pistol and you shoot the gun, obviously the muzzle flash comes out of the gun, obviously, right? But this muzzle flash also needs to bounce off of the surfaces, different materials, and needs to be calculated where this flash is gonna end up. And surprisingly enough, shooting a gun might actually drop your FPS as well, if lumen is enabled. So, as I said, idea is very good, and for a technical demo that actually showcases how well this is working, because honestly, it is working, and it looks fantastic. Like, look at this scenery right here. The red light is actually going down to the floor, onto the wall, onto some other objects, and we still have this kind of crossover into the white light reflecting off from a puddle and off from a wall. Now, granted, you might say, hey, but if there was no lumen, you know, what gives? I mean, technically you're not wrong, but for eye candy, I would say this does look nice. You know, Unreal Engine 5 is, for a reason, the way it is, so I would want to say, you know, let's keep it where it's currently at, and we'll go from there. But yeah, performance-wise, sub 60, and that's where we're gonna be. Now,
do not follow me!
yeah, these monsters are quite a few here, and as you saw when I was shooting the gun, you're gonna, well, I'm gonna see it in post, but I already know that we actually dropped some frames right there and then, because of the flash in the corridor, and it needs to illuminate the corridor as far as the light intensity of the flash goes. So that's a thing. Also, for first-person game, for a first-person survival horror game, you kind of want to have all of the frames you can possibly get, because even though this game technically can be easily run below 60 frames, in certain areas you want to have more frames than you actually have, in all honesty. So technically, yes, epic settings 4K is a little bit of a far stretch here, and we shouldn't be doing it. But if you are a frequent visitor to my channel, you know that I'm not intimidated by any sort of logic. Right, I think there's one guy over there. Also, these monsters kind of move with a sound, so if you make sound, they probably hear you and run after you. I've seen some people playing this demo, and they say the monsters are blind. But so far, I must say, they kind of very nicely react to a flashlight, so I'm not entirely sure if that's true, or maybe I'm just doing things wrong since I'm not exactly playing these games. But overall, then again, the atmosphere of this demo is spot on. If you play with the headphones, you can actually hear all the weird ambient noises, the pipes creaking, these weird howls, the heavy footsteps, and it kind of puts you on edge the moment you run out of bullets. When I first did the benchmark for this game, I actually didn't even know that I have an inventory and I can actually have weapons. So I was sneaking without any weapons around the level trying to find the wire to open the door. So you can just imagine how relieved I was to actually have a gun. And once I have a gun and you shoot, all of these dudes, which I believe is about 5 or 6 of them, I might be wrong, don't quote me on this, came running in single file for me from all different directions. And I was like, well, here you have it. So again, one of those games where you kind of need to be a little bit more tactical and mindful about your surroundings and how you navigate. And this is a very contained level, in all honesty. When you look at it, it's rather like a big circle and then you go through different doors trying to find where you need to go. So yeah, generator room. So not only we need a wire, we need to open the generator. Okay, so yeah, this is, I must say, this is probably, this will be, in my opinion, one of the good games. Okay. And as you saw, they just sneaked up behind me and got me there. Also, the enemies spawn in random locations on start of every level. So even though you might think that there's an enemy behind a certain location, like, you know, behind a door or a wall or a walkway, the chances are they might simply not be there. So keep that in mind. Now, for the second run, which is probably going to be a very quick death, we're gonna drop the settings down to medium, for the simple reason we can, and you will see how the frames actually change, but the graphical fidelity doesn't exactly change too much. And this is what I'm thinking about when it comes to this game. I know that 4070 Ti is not exactly a 4K card, and that is, it's just how it is, right? But I would want to say, if you play in 2K, it should be absolutely fine.
Do not follow me!
Okay, let's go here. So as you can see, even with the Lumen enabled and being on medium, we're actually pretty much above 60 frames. Now, when it comes to epic and high, I would want to say there's no noticeable difference in frames, at least for me. But it might come down to various factors then again. You probably want to have more frames than everything else. But I would want to say for gun shooting encounters, you kind of want to go above 60. Or at least stable 50. So yeah, this is essentially the game itself. I mean, the demo of it, and I would say it's for free on Steam. Go grab it, go play it, see if this is something you might actually like or fancy, and if you do, hey, the game will launch eventually, and then we all gonna have a wonderful time in this. But yeah, I was just curious how this game actually runs in 4K with a 4070 Ti. So I would want to say, you know, that's the performance you can imagine, or expect, should I say. I mean, I'm imagining my performance to be 100 frames, but hey, it is how it is. You know, sometimes it's just... Sometimes it is... And yeah, they do love sneaking up on you, in all honesty. So crouch walking probably is the best option in here. And again, I'm not exactly one to crouch walk. But then again, I guess this is why I'm dying so often in these type of games. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new, or at least a little bit more informative. And I'll see you all next time. Over and out.